If you've been following Absolute Martian Manhunter from the beginning, you'll know that this series has been a total psychological gauntlet. What started out as a seemingly straightforward sci-fi detective story has spiraled into a deeply surreal metatextual nightmare. The early issues feel almost quaint now because we watched FBI agent John Jones survive a horrific coffee shop explosion only to be drafted by an interdimensional entity known as the Martian. Together, they were supposed to save the town of Middleton from the creeping, mind-numbing influence of the White Martian and Darkseid's Anti-Life philosophy. But the further we've gone down this rabbit hole, the more the traditional rules of comic book storytelling have completely dissolved. By the time we hit the penultimate issue, the lines between reality and delusion were shattered. The sinister government forces of the agency tried to dissect the Martian, but that physical threat was nothing compared to the psychological warfare happening inside of John's own head. Trapped with Despair the Zero, the literal manifestation of every toxic, hopeless thought a person can have, John was forced to face a brutal gauntlet of revelations. We learned that his entire life, including that fateful coffee shop explosion, wasn't a tragic coincidence, it was a scripted lie. And that came with the most devastating gut punch of the entire series. We were told that John's son Tyler didn't just fall under the enemy's influence. He was dead and his body had been puppeted by the White Martian for months. As John succumbed to total grief, the psychological cracks in his mind literally began tearing open the fabric of the physical world. It left us at the absolute nadir of the story. It felt like the definitive triumph of anti-life, a bleak reminder that in Darkseid's world, free will is an illusion and we are all just puppets marching to someone else's cruel script. It was an incredibly heavy, hopeless note to end on. But if this series has taught us anything, it's that the rules of the universe only apply to us if we accept them. Even as the sky is cracking open and John is completely broken on the floor, a spark of resistance remains. His wife Bridget managed to smash through her own mental prison, guided by a strange plume of green smoke, determined to find him. After the bleak revelations of the last issue, I went into this final issue expecting total unmitigated devastation. But when you finally realise that you're trapped inside a script, that's the moment you figure out how to break the rules and rewrite the ending. This is a suitably challenging read, both conceptually and emotionally. After finding John weeping on the ground as the sky cracks open, Bridget can now see what John sees. She can see and hear Despair the Zero, and he tries to convince her to kill John to save the universe. Although before long the Martian crawls out of John's head and comes to the rescue. He fights off Despair the Zero, blowing off one of his arms. From here, he deploys his secret weapon, empathy. Inside of John's head, he is attending Tyler's funeral and he is spiraling out of control. Even when the Martian tries to explain things to him, John points out that their universe is made of anti-life, that their god, Darkseid, hates them all. He is within everyone and everything. There is no hope. So the Martian initiates an emergency countermeasure. Essentially what happens is John and Bridget exchange life experiences. They see their entire lives through each other's eyes from birth up until the present. John experiences Bridget's own tough upbringing. He had known that her parents had a volatile relationship, but he didn't realize how terrible it was and the impact it had had on her growing up. As a teen, she had turned to self-harm just to feel some measure of control over her life, and really her life sucked until she met John. While she didn't think much of him initially, their relationship grew to become very deep. In the real world, chaos has ensued. Tyler has essentially started a conga line consisting of 14 million people that dances across the face of the planet while the heavens crack open. And we actually get to see what the three main absolute heroes are getting up to in all this chaos. Batman struggles to read his calculations, Superman stops understanding languages, and Wonder Woman curses the gods. People start dropping dead from exhaustion, and all the Martian can do is tape the gaps while he waits for John to have his breakthrough. At this point, John feels what Bridget had felt bringing up Tyler, who has special needs. She had intended to become a lawyer, but after Tyler's diagnosis, she gave her dreams up to look after him while John pursued his own dreams at the FBI. At the same time, seeing herself through John's eyes and feeling the way he feels about her, suddenly all doubts she had about him fade away. What we're getting here is mutual understanding, literally seeing things from each other's perspectives. By this point, the gigantic conga line has reached the Joneses, and it now consists of some of humanity's worst ideas: slavery, suicide, credit scores, and war. While the Martian holds off the White Martian and Despair the Zero, John and Bridget have a frank conversation. Yes, the world is an awful place. Their lives were completely upended by Tyler's diagnosis, by accusations against John. But all is not lost. All John has to do is look, really look at the world around him, and this activates his Martian vision again. He can see through the anti-life and brings light to all around him. Everything is new and miraculous. John reaffirms that yes, despair is natural. It doesn't lie, but it can twist the truth. It's transitional, a feeling that eventually leads to something else. Despair inevitably leads to delight. And while the Martian continues to battle the White Martian and descends to the core of the universe, John faces his hardest battle. He has to face his failings as a father and speak to his son. Even the act of asking to speak to him recalls a time when he had lost his temper with Tyler and demanded that he just tried to speak, not at all accommodating his needs. He tells Tyler that he was so afraid of messing things up, of doing the wrong thing, that he froze and ended up doing the wrong thing anyway. He admits that he messed up, that he frequently messed up, but he refuses to give up on him. Despair the Zero had told him that Tyler was dead, but to interdimensional beings like them, death has a very different meaning. It's more abstract. What he meant was that Tyler had changed, he was different, and all he needed was for his father to accept him and understand that there are many different ways to communicate. For Tyler, art is how he communicates with the world, and with a fist bump the anti-life is forced away and love is embraced. The Martian, meanwhile, forces the White Martian to face the fact that within anti-life there has to be life. He just brings it to the surface in front of its god, and it is obliterated. Following their near miss, John quits working for the FBI and opens his own detective agency, working with the Martian to do good for the community. At the same time, he is taking steps to repair his relationship with Bridget, picking up flowers for her. At the flower store, he comes across a former colleague, Mayweather, who has also quit his job to follow his passion, in this case, flowers. After everything that happened, he decided life was too short to spend doing something he didn't like. As John approaches his home, where Bridget and Tyler await him, we can still see the cracks in reality, in this case in the pavement, but there are little green shoots of hope growing between them. And if that wasn't the perfect metaphor for this entire series, then I don't know what is. It doesn't try to persuade us that life is perfect and that all of our problems will go away if we just wish hard enough. The absolute universe is an evil place created by Darkseid. It is infused with anti-life, but we can fight against it, and that's what makes those little green shoots so profound. Throughout this entire run, writer Deniz has used the cosmic fourth wall breaking horrors of anti-life to mirror a very human struggle. The paralyzing fear that we have no control, that our worst days are predetermined, and that despair is our permanent reality. When you are trapped in that headspace, it feels like the universe itself is fractured. But the resolution of Absolute Martian Manhunter tells us that the antidote to anti-life isn't a cosmic superpower or a perfect, painless world. The antidote is empathy. It's the grueling, beautiful work of truly seeing into another person's soul, sharing their weight, and choosing to stay. When John and Bridget lived each other's lives, they understood each other's pain rather than erasing it. And when John finally looked at his son, he stopped demanding that Tyler adapt to his world and instead learned how to meet Tyler in ours. Despair the Zero wasn't entirely wrong when he said despair doesn't lie. Bad things do happen, we mess up, we freeze, and sometimes the script of life hands us tragedy. But the ultimate lie of despair is convincing us that the story is over. Despair isn't the destination, it's a transition. It is the dark soil that makes the return of delight possible. So, yeah, the absolute universe is a harsh, broken place. The cracks in reality are wide open, but those green shoots prove that life doesn't need a perfect, pristine world to take root. It just takes a tiny bit of light, a refusal to give up, and the courage to look at the person next to you and say, I see you. In a world built on anti-life, choosing to love, to understand, and to adapt is the ultimate act of rebellion. It's how we break the script, it's how we rewrite our own ending and, with a little luck, live better lives. And I feel a little cry coming on now. Thank you for watching, I hope you've enjoyed hearing about this series. Special thanks to my channel members, the Back Issue Brigade, whose names you can see on screen right now. They helped to make this video possible. Do stick around because I'll be back very soon with videos about Absolute Green Lantern 16 and Batman 11. Hope to see you then.